Hi, what is up, y'all? Welcome back. You are listening to the Angel Face Magic Hour. I'm your host, Grace Lannon. I'm an intuitive and an energy healer, and welcome to Angel Face 2.0. Welcome to season 2 of the Angel Face Magic Hour. I'm excited. It's been a minute, and I wanted a fresh start. I wanted fresh energy, new energy. And I know some of you have been participating in the Rebirth challenge that ended up being more of a meditation series than a challenge. But that's okay because that's what we needed. But that integration phase was really key. So I know some of you have been participating in that and feeling this energy of shedding, like change, shift internally to be able to see that change and shift externally. And we've been doing that with these energy healings and these meditations we've been working on together. And as like a culmination of that, as well as I just had my birthday about a month-ish ago, I'm really feeling like a fresh start. I'm really feeling like a turn of the page, a new chapter vibe. And sometimes it's hard for me to get into a new chapter because I have been in the same place for a while now, at least like literally where I live. And I've moved so much growing up that like when I move, it really feels like a fresh chapter. And sometimes it's hard to emulate that feeling without like a literal huge change in my life. So I wanted to really create that feeling for myself and know we are closing a book and we are rebirthing ourselves and we are moving through the canal. We're out the canal, we're on the other side, and we are ready to expand. So that's really the energy that I'm personally feeling, as well as the energy that I'm wanting to exhibit and inhabit for the podcast, as well as like what is kind of like trickling and tinkling around in the collective energy. We're seeing a ton of death, like literally, and it's so sad. But also, as well as like systems are dying, things are crumbling around us. It's scary. We can see that, of course, in the political sphere in America and throughout the world. So much is going on, so many uprisings and like just big changes, like politically and governmentally within, our stuff, as well as throughout the world. Just from my observations, I am not a news anchor and I don't know all the details on anything. But from what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling is like shedding. And sometimes that is extremely uncomfortable and scary. And we've been in that for a hot minute. Like, and then of course, the environment, things going on within the environment, things going on within like all the systems, school systems, medical systems, everything is changing. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But we are changing along with that. And to be able to change sometimes is about being able to say goodbye to things and to be comfortable within the self in order to have some point of grounding or like stability within a chaotic realm, a chaotic time, a chaotic circumstance, however that is showing up for you, or just, in the environment around us, the feelings, the vibes. It's all a little wacky woo woo, wacky whoa whoa whoa, what's going on? But here we are. This is where we are existing in this moment. And so I want us, at least from an esoteric perspective, a spiritual perspective, to take that energy and shift it into something we can use. When there's chaos, we can reformulate that energy. I saw a TikTok that was really funny to me, but also so true. And I'll share this on the Instagram if they have the save feature up on that TikTok. But the guy was talking about doing like money magic, abundance magic, like calling in like, yeah, financial money, like real money, like coins, dollar bills, y'all. But he says he would drive to fancy neighborhoods and like basically siphon their energy and take their energy and use it for his own. And I just thought that was like so funny, but so possible. Like, and it's not, I don't want to say that like we're stealing other people's energy, because that's a whole nother thing that I don't think we should necessarily be doing. But being able to like basically use a runoff, like there's extra energy that surround things that isn't necessarily like personal people's energy. It's like the energy, the vibes that surround things, if you guys understand what I mean by that. So basically using that free energy that surrounds situations. So that could be rich money energy, go to the bank, get that good energy. Like, or it's also taking energy that surrounds you, like chaotic energy, scary energy, fear, and being able to basically like alchemize it, like shift it and change it into something positive, something that you can use. And that's like kind of more advanced energy work, but I do think anyone could do it. It's just learning how to within your personal like body and experience, because everyone perceives differently. But for me, how I imagine it is, say I am surrounded by chaotic energy. I imagine that like static, like on a TV or a computer, like when it's malfunctioning, there's like the little static. If you can, or if you're older like me, you can imagine TV static, like the weird grids. I imagine it like that. And then I visualize the static turning into waves, like audio waves. Like if you were to look at a file of what audio looks like. And then if I can shift it into that, I can further imagine shifting it into natural waves, like from the ocean. So taking something that is inorganic, like this frantic energy, that is sometimes off-putted by technology, being able to shift it into something natural and organic like water. And then I imagine that flowing either into me or into people around me, becoming basically like a wave of unconditional love. And that is how I visualize it. But again, this is something that you can play around with if you want to. But yeah, it's transforming, it's alchemizing, it's shifting the polarity. I don't know how to explain it into simpler terms other than basically if it's a shadow, it's becoming like a reflection. So instead of it being behind, it becomes in front. So I hope you understand what I mean by that. But yeah, welcome to season 2. I'm very excited. I have some juicy guests that I'm going to be sharing with you. I have some topics I want to be covering, and I'm excited to be here with you on the podcast. I'm also going to do my best to record these on video so you can watch them on my YouTube And some of you, if you listen to this podcast on Spotify, you might have already noticed that I have been putting up videos more recently. And yeah, that's just kind of how I'm feeling. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like intention setting and about like actualizing our ideas. So if you want, you can get a piece of paper or you can just listen to this and try the exercise on your own time. But I want us to do a little bit of a intention exercise here together. So basically, if you have an idea of an intention for yourself that you want to accomplish right now in this time in your life. So we just had a full moon. This is often about releasing energy and then being able to call forward something in its place, is how I imagine it. So if we can let go of things, we have more room for things to come into our life. So I want us to take just a moment to think about that intention. So I want it to be something as simple as one word. I don't want you to think of a whole paragraph. You can do that later. You can get detailed with it, but I want this to just be one word. So think about what that word is going to be for you. And once you have the word, you can either write it down or just imagine it in your mind's eye. And you can do this literally or in a visualization. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your word. So for me, I'm going to have spirit pick my word. This will be fun. I have this little deck of cards. They're angel cards and they have different words on them. So I'm going to ask what my intention should be for the podcast. So there's two that I feel like are relevant. So I'm going to pull them both. So if two words come to mind, okay, I'd just rather you have one word, but I'm going to break the rules. So my words are wisdom and freedom. And if you're looking at this video, I know they're backwards, but you get the idea. So for the podcast, my intentions moving forward are to convey wisdom and to bring freedom into my life. And that feels really good to me, those words and those feelings. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to plant these intentions into the earth. So you could literally write them onto a piece of paper and like fold it up into a tiny piece of paper to a tiny little ball and you could even put it in like a shell or something like that, something that's natural, like a shell or a crystal. And you're going to go into your backyard, or if you don't have a yard, like a potted plant or a house plant. And even if you don't have that, you're going to go to like a local park where you can do this, somewhere out in nature. And if you can find something that's close to your home, that's ideal. Or alternatively, you can just visualize this process and you don't have to literally do it. But you're going to basically dig a little hole in your mind or in real life, and you're going to put your intentions into the earth. Then you're going to imagine water flowing out your hands and just watering those intentions. Imagine it like it's a seed and it's going to grow a beautiful flower. Now, seeds take a little while to grow to a full flower and to bloom. And for certain plants, sometimes they are, I think it's called perennial, where they flower every other year. So don't expect things to happen overnight. But what you're going to do is you're going to begin to take action on those intentions so that you can basically, you're creating the manifestation. This is just something for our mind to focus on, but you're the one who's going to be taking action steps. We can't just manifest things out of thin air. We have to take steps in order for those things to be seen in our reality. If we want to take out the whole idea of manifestation at all, you could just think of this as goal setting. Your goals are to connect with these intentions, to connect with wisdom, to be able to share that wisdom with others, to connect with the feeling of freedom and to be able to experience that in my body. Those are my examples. But whatever your intention is, like that is going to be how you're going to play around with bringing it into your life. So then basically, if you want, you could even plant this with a real seed and get really fancy and then actually see the plant grow. But basically, the idea is that we're planting the seed and we're walking away. So you can go and visit that seed site and just like talk as if your intentions can hear you, and they can. But being like, oh, today I did this and that connected me more with freedom. And imagine you're talking or writing in your diary. You could go to the seed site and do that, or just write about it again, literally in your diary or your journal, or imagine yourself pouring more water, pouring more light into those seeds, those intentions. So that's just something I want us to kind of focus on, to really see how it's possible to shift our feelings through focus. So my goal, or my next step now, would be to see how I can bring more freedom and wisdom into my life and into the podcast, and find tangible steps that I can take to draw that towards me. So, for example, with wisdom, I could practice more channeling. I could have more guests on that are very wise and very knowledgeable. I could be reading more books and doing more research. I could be, like going out into nature and connecting with the tree spirits and fun stuff like that. For freedom, I could be more consistent with my episodes and see how when I plan something ahead of time, it allows more freedom in my schedule because I know this is the time and the place that I need to get something done. So those are just some examples of how you could apply something into your life. So this is just a fun exercise. It's not too serious. And I just want you to see how, if you're specific enough, it can be helpful without being so specific that maybe you're only drawing one path towards yourself. So if your intention or your manifestation is like, I want to have a green Lamborghini, and instead of just like, I would like a new car, that perhaps you would only connect with certain things that in the long run might not be as beneficial for you as if you were to just get any old car. And maybe if you got a different car, you'd have more money to spend on other things. Like, you get the idea, okay? So I want us to just play around with the simplicity of it to see how this process is helpful, and to see how you personally can grow through the idea of your own like little flowering seed within yourself. So that's just something I want us to like play around with, think about, enjoy. But yeah, little bit about intentions today. So intentions basically mean, like I said, just goals, feelings, like what do you want to inhabit? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to feel like? So this could be literal or more emotional, but just kind of go with the first thing that comes through in your mind. And if you have cards, you can play with those too, but absolutely not necessary. I want you to be able to feel like connected with your intention, to know that this is direction that you want to bring into your life. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about. I have been really excited about some of the things that I have been calling into my life, and some of these like manifestations have taken years for them to show up. But the way that they show up is so beautiful that it's worth it to me. And it's really about like putting something into the universe and then, waiting to see what happens. Not all things are supposed to come to us. And sometimes that's like confusing, because then we think about fate and like, are we really manifesting these things, or are these things just showing up because they were supposed to happen and they were inevitably going to happen? Or am I really changing fate and shifting things? And I think that really depends on your perspective and your school of thought, with witchcraft or like spell practice, spell casting and things like that. We are like shifting the will of others sometimes. Um, and so I don't necessarily think that's manifesting, but that is changing fate. um, or it's also possibly tuning into a future timeline and knowing like that is what you want. So that could also be more of like a premonition. So, what is fate versus what is a premonition? Like seeing your future self in a meditation, like, is that your future self coming back to you in that moment of time? Or are you moving forward to that moment of time where you see your future self? It gets kind of crazy to think about, thinking about all time is now, but also we're in the future and the past, and it's it's interesting. Like if you've ever done a inner child meditation and you connect with that inner child, like when you were, 8 years old or whatever, maybe you saw, and someone was talking to me about this the other night, I thought it was really interesting, but maybe you saw a vision of like a guardian angel or something. What if that wasn't even a guardian angel, but that was you in the future doing your meditation and coming back to connect with that inner child to provide them protection and healing? And at the same time, you're healing yourself. It gets kind of crazy to think about. So we're simplifying things by just focusing on putting the intention out there and just waiting to see what happens. Waiting to see what happens. It's like you can think about like applying to college or something. You put all these applications out there, and then eventually you'll find out like, did you get in? Did you not get in? That kind of thing. You can think of it like that, like you are applying to college, applying to a job, like, and you're just waiting to see like what role is best for you to take. And focusing on the feeling, I think, is the most important, because if we can connect with the feeling, we can connect with that possible outcome. So when we're connecting to the future, to a future timeline, we are very much connecting with a possibility. So if we choose this or we choose that for dinner, that's going to change the way things are in tomorrow. So I don't want us to get too tripped up on time. You know, we could for like 17,000 years. So let's just roll it back a little bit and have you guys play around with the idea of connecting with a feeling to bring forward the intentions that you want to see in your life. So let me know if you enjoy that exercise, and you could do this, you know, as many times as you want, but just start with one and just wait and see. Don't overwhelm yourself, please, because then we get confused. And there's so much confusion already in life, let alone trying to figure out like the meaning of life. So just know that you're here right now and you're existing and you're very powerful and you're very knowledgeable. But you don't need to do anything to receive the outcome. But this is a way for you to focus your energy so that the outcome looks how you desire it to. If that makes any sense to you. So when we look at the future, I want us to think about the possibility, not only for ourselves, but for the collective, for the country we live in, for the rest of the world, for the planet, for the universe. Think about how if you can shift your own life, how can you help others shift theirs? How can you help the collective shift entirely to more of a positive outcome? There's a lot of people who have negative intentions for society, whether they are conscious of it or they believe it because of their religion or their personal belief system or because they're brainwashed from the internet. Like, there's a lot of people that are putting a lot of energy out there towards these, more chaotic feelings, more negative situations. And it is our job to beam, joy and love and peace. And that's not the only thing that we need to do in order to shift and change things, but that is one really powerful thing that we can do when we don't know what else to do, is stay in the frequency of love, unconditional love, and figure out like actionable steps that you can take to make not only you feel better, but you literally are helping other people. Whether that's a small thing, like getting someone a sandwich, or that's a big thing, like making phone calls, or even a bigger thing, like making big internal changes in society through systems or through magic or through breaking down systems. Everyone has their own individual role, but we need to take it seriously and not just expect things to change if we don't change them. You can see that for yourself in your everyday life. So of course it's going to be true for the world as well. Like if you say to yourself every day, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and go for a walk and do my 12-step skincare routine, and every day you don't do that, it's more likely that you're going to continue to not do that than if you were to wake up at 5 a.m. and go for a walk, but maybe not do the skincare. Like that tiny little step makes a big difference and shifts the timelines. But the big steps are important too. And so we can't just think, just thinking positive, just living in joy is going to change everything. We have to take action, like we talked about with the manifestations. It's true for collective change as well. It's true, no matter how you look at it. If you look at it from a magical perspective, a spiritual perspective, or a literal perspective, it takes action, it takes steps, it takes learning, it takes education, it takes a look at yourself in the mirror. You know, a lot of people were raised in fucked up societies. America, especially, you know, we're born into a really racist society, a really hateful society, a greedy society. And we are very separated on purpose from people different than us, whether that is like race or age or class or gender, sexuality, you know, all the things like that. These categories that we have been put into, they are opposite of each other in a room because it's designed that way. Even if we think we have moved so far away from it, if you look at politics or education or school systems or, you know, government, et cetera, you'll see that the main system of, you know, white supremacy is still number one at play. So everything lives and exists within that. And of course, that goes beyond just United States. But here especially, it's really easy to just stay in your little bubble and not see what is going on around you. And I need people, and I've talked about this, I think, a little bit on TikTok and stuff, but I just need people to really see the big difference between ignoring problems, spiritual bypassing, whatever you want to call that, like not looking at stuff, and constantly looking at stuff and becoming like, what stuff, I mean the news, I mean things that come out about what's going on, you know, with violence in America, et cetera, the environment, et cetera, like ignoring those things versus consuming nothing other than that and becoming like, yeah, nihilist and thinking that there's no possible way that things can get better with the climate, with the government, like, and that we must just keel over and die and give up, versus we must just overcome and experience only joy and love and not look at anything else and turn another cheek. Like, we can't do really either. We need it's, you know, that fine line of being able to take yourself out of it when you need to, be able to feel peace, love, all these amazing things that we are meant to experience, be present, like when you're just hanging out with friends, like not just be constantly thinking about like apocalypse and doom, but also not ignore the issues. So the issues in society are a spiritual issue too. So I think, at least from what I see from like online spirituality, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, there's a lot of like ignoring stuff or over obsessing and thinking everything is like a conspiracy. And yeah, there are conspiracies. They're real, but not everything is fucking like an Obama deep fake or some shit. Like, you guys need to learn how to tell the difference between satire and reality. I think that is another huge issue I see within some of the more conspiritual stuff, is people really don't know the difference between um, something created out of jest and something that is really true. It's like the memeification of life. Like everything has become a meme, so it's hard for people to know, is this a joke or not? And then some people take things so seriously that they end up, going down a very dark hole, very dark path of, you know, finding everything wrong with society in order to justify their malicious intents, their racism, their bigotry, their hatred of women, um, the whole thing. But it's very saddening to me sometimes. And I think it's been going on for years, but it got really bad in 2020, just seeing like the widespread misinformation around certain conspiracies and information. But then at the same time, because of that, very valuable information is becoming censored and is becoming viewed as um, bullshit or like disingenuous. So it's hard because it's really about discernment for everyone, like knowing this person has a positive intention and this person has a negative intention, or this person might think that they are being helpful, but they're really not. Or maybe that, yeah, this article is from the fucking Onion. Like, hello. I think people, just what I see rolling around TikTok is disconcerting. And I try to talk about it a little bit on there, but I don't like to always just be calling people out, because I'm here to spread love. I'm here to spread my information, be able to help people in their everyday lives. But at the same time, I just want to make people aware of that there are people out there that are maybe just not getting the most accurate information intuitively, psychically, and also just maybe influenced by their own biases, religious beliefs, etc. You might know what I mean, but like a lot of evangelical rhetoric around like 5D and like we're all ascending and all that kind of stuff, I find it to be not helpful. And I think the most important and most spiritual thing that we can do is be human. And that's something that I am learning, because I stopped doing a lot of human things, aka like drinking and drugs and stuff like that, for my own health, and my own personal journey. But to be able to understand, for people who don't have like a history of addiction or whatever, to understand like it's okay to drink a beer every once in a while. It's okay to eat like an icy every once in a while. Like not everything is out to get you, but there also are things that are detrimental to your health, and you could be healthier if you stayed away from those things, knowing the fine line, like of what is healthy and mindful and what is like orthorexia or like spiritual puritanism, basically, of, oh, you have to stay covered up and you can't listen to rock music or rap. Like it's gonna let demons into your fucking house or whatever. All this shit that I see. So I just went on a little bit of a tangent, a little bit of rant, but I think it's important to realize like, the fine line between investigating the world around you, seeing the truth of things around you, and obsessing with basically staying out of reality and staying out of your body and um, staying out of your community, staying out of your country, like just disassociating. So we want to be in it, we want to be grounded, we want to be in our body, and we want to be experiencing our lives. And for me also, like with my history and also my chronic pain stuff, it has taken me out of life a lot. And that's what even led me to spirituality, is like, I need something to help me feel better. Um, and so I know that a lot of people find this kind of work when they are struggling. And so I think it's very important to find ethical practitioners, to find people with experience, to find people that have done healing work themselves, to find people who take it seriously, know what they're doing, or know how to help you if they don't know what they're doing. Like if they find something that someone else could help you with more effectively, they will recommend that person. They don't view their beliefs as better than anyone else's. You know, all the things. I'm sure some of you have watched like the documentaries that have been out about Teal Swan. I haven't watched it, but I did listen to a podcast about her a while back. I think it is called The Gateway or something like that. But she is a intuitive, a healer, and also basically a cult leader. And I know we talked a little bit about cults before and the prevalency of them in this kind of industry, spirituality, metaphysical stuff. Because people want a leader, people don't trust themselves, and I have been there. I very, very, very fortunately have never had a negative experience with a healer or with a practitioner. Everyone I've worked with has been exceptional, mentors of mine, now friends of mine, people that I trust and would recommend to anyone who have their foot in reality, but can go into the clouds as they need to and give advice that is helpful and not just, ego stroking, like to really give you advice that is going to be tangible and understandable for you. So I'm very blessed and lucky in that way. But there are a lot of people out there that are cults or, people that are, I would say like a manipulative, whether they're even aware of it or not, but pulling on your pain points. Like, and that's a marketing thing, like that people suggest to you. Like if you're trying to find a client, like trying to branch your clientele out there, like make sure that you message and target the pain points of the clients that you are trying to draw in. So something like, have you, like for example, like a Weight Watchers type of thing, like have you always been overweight? Like have you struggled with your finding the right size clothes? Like making basically people who have feel bad, and they're like, oh, this is what's going to solve my issue. So people do that all the time in marketing, and that is definitely applied to spiritual work as well. So I think it's really easy to spot that once you're aware of it, but it's also really easy to be emotionally manipulated by something, whether or not you are aware of it or not. Like even something as simple as sale now, like last chance to buy this, last chance for you ever to buy this. Like you're like, oh fuck, I gotta buy this now or else I'm never gonna get it, even if it's not something you even really wanted, but you're like, gotta get it now. Oh, it's on 20% off, gotta get it now. And I do sales. I'm not gonna say that I've never done a sale, like you guys have seen me do sales, but I really try not to use these types of techniques, even though they might help me like gain more clientele, because to me the most important element of the work I do is ethics and consent, and also like asking spirit and my spirit guides to draw the people in that are meant to work with me. Like if I'm able to help you, I'm the right person for you, and you'll just feel that. You'll just know that. And people have told me that too. Like they're like, oh, I just found you yesterday. Like, and I just was like, I have to book a reading with this person. Um, and that's fucking sick. And I've experienced that myself as well. Like in the standpoint of like a student or a client, I'm like, I like don't know much about this person, but I'm gonna sign up for their class. And that has always led me to the right place. But if you haven't built up that trust for yourself, it's really easy to confuse like yeah, these manipulative feelings like I need to do this, I have to do this now, like with, oh, this is meant for me. And if you can't recognize that, doesn't mean that you're not evolved or whatever. Like everyone's on a journey. And I have had students and clients of mine who have had weird experiences with readings or healing sessions before, and I've certainly seen some very unethical, horrible things on TikTok. I feel like I was gonna sneeze, so let's see if that happens. Sorry, everyone. I'm probably not gonna edit that out, so God bless me. But I've definitely seen some horrible things on TikTok as far as like ethics go. And I really feel for those people because oftentimes that turns people away from spiritual work, even if it would be helpful for them in the future because they have been like burned in the past. Same as like any other industry. If you had a really bad hair dye experience, you might be hesitant to go to another hair salon, waxing, massage, etc. You might be like, no, that's not for me. And I've had experience where I got an energy healing from someone and it was nice. But I've had experiences with other people and it was like extremely profound and like life changing. And I don't think that's because that other person sucks at Reiki, because anyone can do energy healing and anyone with source frequency, it's like going through it, it's sentient, it knows exactly where to go. But I think it's more about like the codes and the information that is delivered from the person and their energy. And what I mean by that is, yeah, sometimes that's information that people channel, they do a reading, they pull cards, they read your chart, whatever kind of reading it is, mediumship. But also sometimes that's like intuitive energy. Like if I were to see it, it looks like little codes, like little scrolling text, like the Matrix vibes. And it looks like I'm receiving all that energy from the person that's sitting in front of me doing the healing work for me or doing the reading for me. I'm just receiving it, even if I don't know anything that they said. I was just closing my eyes the whole time. I still got what I needed. And I don't think some people don't have those. I think that's one of the ways we telepathically communicate between each other, whether or not we're conscious of it or not. It's like the atoms and the molecules moving with each other. They vibe and they put off a frequency. And you all, even if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you've experienced this before. You meet someone for the first time and at like a coffee shop or something, and then you're just lol and kiki and ha-haing with them. That's the vibe, that's the energy moving between you guys, and there's something there. And maybe you've met another person who you're just like, this person does not like me. You can feel it. And it's not necessarily like that they're a bad person or they're a negative person. It's just like your vibes don't mix with their vibes. It's like pheromones or whatever. Like some people you just think are hot. You can't explain it. Like even if they're like objectively not hot, you just feel the energy. It's like that. But not sexual. That was just an example. But like to me, it looks like packets of information that's like downloaded into you. And usually that's like if you've overcome something, you're able to share that energy with someone else. That's at least how my spirit guides like explain it to me. Like, say, for example, me, like, I have had a history of a lot of anxiety and like specifically fear around apocalypse and like um, tsunamis and shit like that. And that's something that I've really healed. I mean, as far as I know. Um, and so maybe if someone is feeling that fear inside themselves right now, like I could help them move through that because that's something that I've experienced. So yeah, like maybe you have been cheated on and you have a conversation with a friend who has also been cheated on. You can commiserate, you can understand each other. You have experienced narcissism in your life and that person negatively affected you. Maybe if you talk to another person that's also experienced that, you can learn more about it. You can, and sometimes that's why, like, if you have a conversation with a random person, it can be even more helpful than having a conversation with like your family or even your friends, because that person has the right thing to say to you. And when I first started doing readings, I would always kind of be nervous about like, what if I don't know what to say? And that's exactly what spirit will help me do, is like give me the words to say and give me the way to say them. And that's something I'm still practicing. Like sometimes it takes me a second to like explain it correctly, because sometimes things will come through like visually. But that's often why, at least in my perspective, we can understand something more clearly from someone versus someone else. Like if someone that I love and trust is explaining to me about like, I don't know, stocks, I might be more into it and like understanding because they are giving me like examples I can get than if I was just watching a video of like a stockbroker explaining them. I'd be like, what are you talking about? So I hope that I can do that for people. I know I do in my sessions, but with the podcast, like be able to explain some of these strange topics in words that somehow click in your mind, even if you're like, what the fuck are we even talking about? Um, but yeah, just like a few thoughts about, because now that I'm in a little bit of a ranting mood, just a few thoughts about some of the stuff that I see on TikTok that's very unethical. I just want to share my reflections on them. I see people doing readings, it's a TikTok live reading, and people will come, and usually what I'll see is pendulums. So it will be like a pendulum board, and the pendulum goes yes or no and answers your questions. Sometimes I'll see bone readings on there as well, and it's like a yes or no type of question, but the questions are always so out of pocket. Like, I don't think you should answer this, especially on live. But like, am I pregnant? Like, is my boyfriend cheating on me? Like, should I dump him? Like, these are not necessarily questions that I think are helpful. Especially the pregnant one is the one that I think is very unethical. Like, I've also seen stuff around mediumship, like I remember a few years ago when that girl, unfortunately, Gabby Petito, she went missing, and then she ended up, she had died at the hands of her boyfriend. And it was a really tragic story, very sad, but there was tons of stuff coming on TikTok from everyone, not just spiritual creators, talking about this true crime experience of what was happening in the moment. And I think there's going to be a documentary about her. It's either out or it has come out, but it's a very tragic story. But I was seeing people before it was even announced that she had passed, that she had died, that mediums on TikTok were channeling her spirit, quote unquote, because I don't know if everyone that says they're mediums on there is accurate. But even if it was accurate, without the permission of someone's family And even if you did have the permission of someone's family, it should be a private session. I think that's extremely fucked up. And like that was even before people knew for sure what had happened. So it was a lot of speculation and just not okay. It's not okay to do that and to mess with people's emotions. And I'm sure if her family had seen something like that, it would be really distasteful and upsetting to them. Um, so things like that. Sometimes I'll see people where like channel like celebrities, and I've done that before. Not like I've never recorded it or anything, but I've done that in like medium groups, like, and it's kind of fun. But I don't think it's ethical to share like channeling Nicholas Tesla, like, and what he thinks about Donald Trump, like all this weird shit that I see. I'm like, let this man rest. Like, spirits will come through, and I have had spirits that were celebrities come through to me. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But I don't call upon spirits unless they are my clients' family, family and friends, or my ancestors, my family, because I think let them rest, especially a freaking celebrity. They have their whole life, like Michael Jackson. I see that all the time. People are channeling Michael Jackson. I'm like, this man had a fucking horrible life. Like, let him rest. Like, whatever we think about Michael Jackson, like, it's complicated, okay? With his story and the abuse and everything that he partaked in as well as received. He had a really difficult life. Leave him alone. Let him sleep. Let him rest. So, yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about as far as like the ethics and stuff. I don't think it's right to answer questions about pregnancy. Sometimes I will answer questions about like health, and that's a lot of information comes to me around the body. But if it's not someone that I'm like seeing face to face, like I don't want to answer those questions like on a TikTok live. I don't think that is wise, and not only for like the safety of your practice, but also like you want to make sure people can get the help that they need. So sometimes I've had things come up with people and I'm like, okay, maybe you should go see a therapist or a doctor, or, I'll suggest something. And that can be hard. I never want to make someone feel weird. I want to make them feel extremely comfortable. That's like part of my job. But if I feel like there is something in the body that needs to be addressed, like it doesn't always have to be addressed through spirituality. It should be kind of like examined externally as well, I think, because this is just a way to receive information, and then what can we do with the information afterwards? So if I see that, okay, this person's got something going on with their ankle, maybe they need to go to a podiatrist, and then they see, oh, you fractured your ankle 5 years ago, but it never really healed. Like, it's just like a clue to get you to the destination. So yeah, like I don't think it's right to be like, do I have cancer on TikTok live and be like, no. What if they do? What if you're wrong? What if the pendulum's wrong? What if you're not accurate? Like, even the most fucking best psychics in the whole world are not 100% accurate all the time. And I think a lot of people are accurate, but they don't know how to explain the messages they are receiving. So then it becomes like inaccurate by the way they describe things. So that's why I always ask, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Because I want to make sure you understand what the fuck I'm talking about. Because sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. And then sometimes I'm like channeling, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. So just do some research, like if you're going to get a reading from someone. And also, let's just address the whole scammer thing on Instagram. If you haven't seen that, I'm getting really annoyed about it, but I'm just letting it go. But It's been happening for about 2 years. I've noticed like a year and a half. It's been really bad in the last year. But people have been creating fake Instagram accounts. It's happened to me multiple times. There might even be one up right now. And it's happened to a ton of other intuitives, healers, readers, etc. I don't know if this is some kind of like suppression or something. Like, I have no idea. It's a good scam apparently because it's making people hella bank. Otherwise, I don't know why they're doing this. But if you didn't know that this has been happening, just be aware. I think I've even talked about it here in the past before. I know I've talked about it on Instagram, but just repeating in case I haven't ever mentioned this before, but this is a huge thing that has been happening, and it's really frustrating for intuitives because it's already something that, yeah, there's a lot of weirdos out there, like I was just talking about. It's already something that's difficult to receive, like credit for, to receive, for people to believe you, people to trust you, people not to think you're crazy, for people to not think you're a scammer. And yet there are scammers out there impersonating us, making us look bad, and making people further believe the idea that all intuitives or healers are scammers or just fucking fake or whatever, because I don't think that's true, obviously. But a lot of people have that belief and they're like, let me finally trust this person. Let me open up. And then that, nope, it's a scammer. So I think that has made a lot of people frustrated as hell. But this is how you will know, basically, that this is a fake account. So tip with me, what happens, and this is usually what happens with everyone else, they will take your username. So my username, angelface.grace, and they'll change it slightly. So it'll be angel with 2 N's and grace with 2 E's, or it'll be angelface_grace, like a subtle change that if you're just scrolling on Instagram, you probably won't notice, like a difference in the username. Then what they do is typically they'll go through your following list, like whoever's following you on Instagram, and they'll follow all those people, and even go to other accounts with like similar followers to you. So people who are into intuitive stuff, and they'll follow those people too. Or like, friends of friends, mutuals, like just follow all those people basically to get a mass following back. And usually, at least in my experience, because I don't have that many followers on Instagram, they exceed the amount of followers that I even have. So if people search the name, they're like, oh, this is probably the real account because they have 15,000 followers, and my account I only have like 1,000 something because I'm fucking shadow banned as shit. Which is another problem because people think meditation is dangerous or something. But that connects back to the people who are doing dangerous malpractice type of work. It's like there are real instances where people should be kind of monitored, and then there's other instances where you're just kind of getting looped in with them because of the algorithm, because of like it being AI who monitors these profiles rather than a real person. So if they think everyone who practices healing work is a QAnon person, like a red pill person, then we all get censored. So, but basically they'll go through all the followers, they'll follow you, and then they'll DM you. So just look out for DMs. Like, I will DM people if they DM me first, or if people have expressed interest in something, like in a poll I'm doing, and I'm like, okay, let me send you the link because you asked for it, or you send me your email and I'll respond. Like, I don't not DM people. I do chat a lot in DMs with my clients and friends, but I never cold DM a random person. I'm like, hey, you need a reading from me. So usually people will send you a DM, and they'll be like, hello, lovely one, like, hey, beautiful soul. They use 1,000,000,000 emojis, and they'll be like, something drew me to you, like your ancestors are guiding me to give you a reading today, or like, what's your zodiac sign, like, love, like, you have such good vibes, like, would you like a reading? Like, it's just not language I would use, or probably anyone else that you follow who is an intuitive or healer. Um, so just pay attention to the way that people speak, pay attention to the amount of emojis they use. Like, I love emojis, but it's like every other word. And if you've gotten one of these DMs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I post this episode, I'll post some like screenshots of all this kind of juicy stuff that we're talking about as far as scammers and unethical people. And I never want to shade people, but I think it's very important for us to talk about. So yeah, but just pay attention. It's happening constantly. I get a ton of followers. I get like 15 to 20, not a ton, but to me, it's a ton. I'll get a ton of followers a day, like 10 to 20 followers. And it's just other accounts I follow who have a fake account out there right now. And I'm like, damn it, not a follower. It's just a scam account again. So just block them, report them. It's a huge problem. I know, like, the spirit guide coach, Asia, I love her so much. If you guys don't know her, she's a medium. She's absolutely talented, but she did like an interview, I think it was last year, for LA Times, where they talked about this scammer issue. So it's been publicized, like literally in a or a newspaper. People have been talking about it a lot. Like, I see videos, people talking about it, but yet Instagram still hasn't done anything about it, and it's really disheartening. But yeah, that's just the things to look out for. So look out for the scammers, look out for the people who are just trying to sell you on your pain, and look out for the people who are answering questions that maybe they shouldn't be. Do your research. If you're gonna meet with someone, like, of course you can get a reading with me, like, loves it. But if you're looking for something specific, check out the people I've had on the podcast before. Find word of mouth recommendations, just see what you can do. And as far as like researching and kind of like understanding what you're getting into. And yeah, not everyone who has 1 million followers is an amazing healer, and not everyone that posts videos every day is an amazing healer. But sometimes I'm not saying influencers or people with big accounts are necessarily fake or like bullshit, because you never know how things pan out with views. So I think it's really about discernment. Like, does this person make you feel good when you see them? Do you feel like they are inspiring or aspirational or funny? Like, what is valuable about this content to you? And also, when you're doing healing work, be prepared to put in like work for yourself. You can't just expect like the same thing as the manifestation. You can't just expect to do one thing and everything changes. Like, it's basically shifting things inside of you so that when it's time, they'll be released. Some might be released in the session, some might be released right after, some might be released 2 months later, etc. Especially if you're doing any kind of energy work, it's not always immediate. So trust and believe, same as the intention work that we did at the beginning of the podcast. So that's about it, y'all. I'm really excited to be here with you for season 2. Those are my thoughts and my feelings. I hope you enjoyed the Rebirth challenge. Please let me know how it was for you. All those are saved up on the podcast feed and on my Instagram. And plenty of other things going on. I'll share with you guys more pretty soon. But if you're not on our mailing list, that's the best way to find out about stuff, or, stay on my notifications on Instagram. Search me. I'm not going to pop up. I know I don't always pop up, the algorithm. Um, but I'm on there all the time and I post a lot about what I have going on. But Spirit School is opening up for enrollment, which is my intuitive development class. So if you really want to work on these skills for yourself, that might be the class for you. I have a free group healing coming up, I think next week. So I'll post that link in the show notes, or it's the following week, Wednesday, the 27th. So that is going to be an energy healing. It's free or donation. And I'm going to be hosting a Reiki 1 class in person. So if you are in Sonoma County and you want to know more about that, just send me an email, please. And there's a lot of other fun stuff coming up. So I will let you all know very soon the details and everything else. But again, just join the mailing list if you want to keep up to date. And please join our meetup as well. That's where we do all the kind of like workshops. And thank you for listening. As always, please leave us a rating and a review. The reviews help us grow. So I see some of you rating, but can you leave us a review, please? 5 stars if you love me. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting me and listening to my podcast. Thank you to all my students and my clients and everyone else here that is listening. You guys are so amazing. And I'm really looking forward to this whole season of expansion and wisdom and freedom with you. So thank you for listening. And I will see y'all next week. Bye. Take care. Bye.